In part 2 of this series, we'll be installing the Crosslace. First, we need to grab our crosslace. It is the largest bulk of string. Let's take the knot out and grab both of the ends. We need to clip one of these ends to run the string along, so we're just going to snip one. We're going to drop the snip side and hold on to the one that's already tipped, and we're going to run the lace between our fingers. This is going to even out the lace and make sure we don't have any pulls in it. Snip off the extra where it thins out, and we're going to put a simple tip on it. This end is going to be our stringing end, so we want to put a heavier tip on it to make it easier while we're stringing. Continue to move the lighter along the lace. We want to make about a 1-inch tip. I like to do this by placing the tip into the top of the blue part of the flame. This is the hottest part of the flame, it will not burn the lace. Once you start to see the lace bend, it is melted enough. You can stop lighting it, wait a few seconds so you don't burn your fingers, and mold the tip. Grab the other end of the lace that does not have the heavy tip on it. We need to do a hitch knot just as we did on the sidewall, so you want to make a loop, go around the top string twice, and pull it tight. Now that our crosslace is ready, let's grab our head, and we want to insert the string in the second hole down and pull it along the back of the first leather. We are now going to make our first interlock, so we want the string to come around the face of the leather and then over top the back. You want to tighten this first interlock so the leather is parallel with the sidewall. This knot is the building knot of the traditional pocket. Now that we have the first interlock on the leather, we want to do the first interlock on the sidewall, so we're going to come through the back of the first casting spot, go around it, and then over top the back. Tighten this knot so it sits right in the middle of the casting spot and the leather is still parallel to the sidewall. Now that the first sidewall interlock is done, head back to the leather, and again we're going to come around the back to the inside. Around the leather and up and over the back string. When this interlock is complete, we've created our first diamond. A good rule of spacing here is that the bottom of the first diamond should line up with the bottom of the first casting spot. We now want to continue this same process all the way down the head, going from casting spot to leather, from casting spot to leather. So on the second casting spot, we're going to come in from the back just as we did on the first one. Go around the sidewall and over the back lace. Again, we want this interlock to be in the middle of the casting spot. This is now what we have. We have one diamond complete and half of the first one started. Continue this process all the way down the head. Now that we have our 6 interlocks on the first leather, we need to cut a small hole in the bottom of the first leather to start the stringing of the second. Do this by cutting a small vertical hole on the first leather about 1/2 inch from the bottom of the leather. Make the hole the width of the blade, and it'll be just enough to get the crosslace through. Cutting this hole can be very difficult. Please take your time and be careful with the knife. Once the hole is cut, we take the crosslace and bring it into the inside of the head, and we want to push the crosslace through the hole we just cut to the outside of the head. This allows us now to make a knot and to continue stringing vertically up the second leather. We are going to go in between the first and second leather, around the first leather, and then up to the loop it makes. Be sure to make the knot tight so the diamonds will not shift. We have now finished the first leather and have established the diamond size for the rest of the pocket. Next, pull the second leather out to desirable depth. This is not the final depth of the pocket, but helps you really establish where you want the ball to sit in your traditional. I like to pull mine out so it's just legal. Now that we have established the depth of the second leather, we're now going to string up it. The interlock is the exact same, but instead of going over, it goes under the string in the back. To establish good diamond size, we want the interlocks on the second leather to match up with the interlocks on the casting spots. Next, we are going to do our first interlaced interlock. This is the hardest part of the traditional pocket. You need to take the tip of the string and place it through the gap of the other interlock. Pull the string to the inside. And come around the back leather. Since we're stringing vertically now, the string goes underneath the back string. Pull the string tight and you'll have your first leather diamond. Again, we want to line up the interlock of the second leather with the interlock on the casting spot on the sidewall. Repeating the same interlock, you go around the back, to the inside, around the leather, and underneath the back string. Once the second interlock is finished on the second leather, we're going to head back to the first leather again, and we're going to do interlaced interlocks. We're going to go through a small gap of the original interlock around the back and underneath the string in the back. This will create your second diamond. Repeat going from the second leather to the first leather all the way up the head, and be sure to interlace interlock on the first leather. Now we have our first row of 6 diamonds complete. Next, take your crosslace and insert it through the loop on the top of the second leather. Once the crosslace is through the loop, we are ready to start interlocking the third leather. Repeat the same process you did between the first leather and the sidewall, between the third leather and the second. Remember, we are now stringing down so the lace goes on top of the string in the back. Also, we will be sure to align the interlocks on the third leather with the interlocks on the first leather. This will give us uniformal diamonds. With the third leather complete, I like to install the ball to establish the pocket placement and the depth of it. Insert the chopsticks or butter knife in between the sidewall and the plastic of the head. I'm looking for a mid-low pocket, so I put the chopsticks in the lower half of the head. Next, grab your ball and insert it into the pocket and then pull the leathers around it. Now that the ball is inserted in the pocket, we want to tie the center 2 leathers to establish our depth for the rest of the stringing. Now that our center leathers are tied and the depth is established, we can now finish off the third leather. Just as we did in the first leather, grab your X-Acto and cut a blade width slit in the bottom of the third leather about a ½ inch from the bottom of the plastic. Once again, be careful with the X-Acto. Once the slit is made, bring the string to the inside of the pocket and push it out towards the back through the slit you just made. We want to do the same exact knot as we did on the first leather, so we want to come in towards the pocket, wrap around the back of the leather, and then up to the loop it makes. We need to pull out the fourth leather to match the depth of the first leather to get an even pocket. The best way to do this is to eye up the distance between the leather to the sidewall and even it up on both sides. With the depth of the leather established, we need to now string up the fourth leather just as we did the second. Remember that we are stringing vertically, so the string from the inside must go underneath the string on the back. And for the fourth leather, we want to align the interlocks with the interlocks on the second leather. Also be sure to use interlaced interlocks on the third leather, so we want to insert the string as a hole made from the previous interlock on the third leather. Continue the interlocks in between the third and fourth leather. When you reach the ball, it is easier to remove it and then string a few diamonds and then replace the ball and check the tension. When we reach the top of the fourth leather, we're going to insert the crosslace into the loop made at the top of the leather, just as we did on the second. For the last row of interlocks, we're going to do the same thing as we did in between the first leather and the first sidewall. The only difference is we're going to be using interlaced interlocks on the fourth leather. Remember, we want to place the interlock on the sidewall in the middle of the casting spot. When you finish the last diamond, insert the crosslace in the bottom sidewall hole and tie it off with a simple knot. The crosslace is now strung and you can really see the definition and placement of your pocket. Next, tie off your outside leathers to make sure they don't shift when you remove the ball. This is what you should have at the end of part 2. Head to part 3 to learn how to balance your pocket and clean it up.